So my talk this morning is the critical question. This week, actually Tuesday at 10 a.m., Bastille Day, I will turn 67. Now, I know you're saying to yourself, but you look a mere 27 in doggy years. But it's true. It's true. And birthdays have a way of making you, reevaluate things. As you look forward, you also kind of look back. And as I've done that this week, it's made me realize that some things that I thought were going to really save me and be important didn't turn out to be that important after all. And sometimes what appeared to be an ending was a doorway to some entirely new beginning. Perhaps wisdom is not discovering something new, but realizing that all along we had that of value within us already and learning to appreciate what we already have. Now, to be honest, I never thought I would reach the age of 67. Never planned on it. Never thought it was going to be a reality, particularly during the AIDS crisis when a whole generation of friends died away. That period when I was losing so many of them, it was like being on the ocean, right when you're in the tide, and the tide is washing away the sand beneath your feet. That's what that period was like. You had no idea, nothing felt solid, nothing felt certain. And you learned quickly that tomorrow was not a guarantee. And you just really kind of had to hold on today. So this birthday reminds me of something profound, that growing older isn't something to be afraid of. It's a privilege. It's a privilege. And when you see that life that way, then the questions begin to change. When I was young, the question was, what do I want to become? What can I accomplish? What do I want life to give to me? And those aren't bad questions. They're just questions of youth. But if we pay attention, as we get older, we start asking different questions. Not what do I want, but what am I here to give? How can I make a difference? How can my life become a blessing? I believe that one of the most important questions we'll ever answer was in our youth was, how can I make a good life? How can I be a success? That was fundamental in my thinking. Like many people, I believed that if I made enough money, if I built enough security, or if I achieved success, happiness would follow. And don't get me wrong, money's great. Money matters. Mae West, she said, I've been rich and I've been poor. And she said, rich is better. And that's probably about right. There's nothing particularly spiritual about poverty. There's not a lot of growth you can do when you're just paying your bills. Money does provide a sense of security. It creates opportunities. It allows you to help care for people around you in your community, to make a difference. Money is a wonderful servant. It is a terrible master. Material things cannot satisfy spiritual longings. And only purpose does that for the soul. When you read the gospel, you don't hear Christ talking about, well, how can I become successful? You hear him talking about, how can I heal? How can I love? How can I lift up those who have fallen down? Everywhere he went, people walked away feeling that they mattered. Sometimes just seeing people, just acknowledging them. And sometimes it just takes a couple of moments, can make the biggest difference in the world. And perhaps that's the greatest miracle of all, is letting people know that they matter to you. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, he said the same truth, but in different ways. He taught that there's only one infinite life expressing through every person. Edgar Casey, he talked about the awakening of the Christ consciousness. And Christ talked about the kingdom of heaven within. It's different language, but it's the same invitation. That there's already something magnificent living within each of us. And it's ours to create it. And our task principally is about allowing that energy to flow through us. And then putting our hands to work with what we can do with what's right in front of us. And there's something for us that we've been called to do that no one else but us can do it. We're the only ones. And I've just come to something else that has surprised me over the years. It's easier actually to step into our higher selves when we're trying to bless people around us rather than when we're just concentrating on our own good. The quickest way to forget your own troubles is to become present to someone else's. When we become consumed with ourselves, life feels small. When we're helping others, we discover hope. Life becomes larger. It's as though there's a current of energy flowing through the universe, a movement always pulling us towards greater love, greater compassion, greater creativity, and greater healing. And when we align ourselves with that energy, something remarkable happens. Life flowing through us instead of just happening to us. And I've seen it here at the very center here, our community. When I first got here, I had no idea of creating a community like the one we have, where we have activities almost every day of the week. The communities I came from in Atlanta, we just did Sunday talk and classes. That was it. And so I didn't envision that we could become a community that we've become, a place where people come and feel a part of a family, friends, where they can speak truth, learn truth. This was a larger idea than I had conceived of. Looking back, I often wonder that every meaningful thing that happens in this life doesn't unfold the same way. By simply saying yes to a greater idea, saying yes to stepping into helping others, saying yes to trusting something larger than ourselves. And once we say yes to that larger idea, something greater can show up. Now, for a couple of weeks, I've been talking about how my life really changed over 25 years ago when I accidentally went into an exhibit at the Jewish Museum of Prague. And I came upon a collection of children's artwork that had been done in a Nazi concentration camp. And I just so admired the woman who did it. Her name was Friedel Dicker Brandeis. And I made a promise to her that day that if I ever could, I would try to spread her story. And I've talked about her a great deal, but this year I've decided I'm going to live up to it. I made it, so it's time for me to live up to it. So, with the help of a dear friend of mine, we've reached out to that museum in Prague. And we're talking to them about the possibility of bringing the traveling exhibit here to St. Augustine. Yeah. Now, you would think that at this age, I would have better sense to share those ideas with people I know aren't going to be positive. But what do? To one of the most negative persons in my life, I shared this about this wonderful collection may be coming here. And oh my goodness, no, never going to happen. They're never going to let that art collection come to your little small town. That museum is never going to let that exhibit out of their hands. Isn't it interesting that in life there seems to be always these conflicting energies, one that's pulling us forward and one that's holding us back, one that says, get out there and make it happen, and the other one telling you, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're going to make a fool of yourself. And the question becomes, which of those energies will we focus on? Which of them will we allow them to become the truth of our lives? So for a day or two, I dwelled in that negativity and questioned if it was really something was going to happen. And then something amazing happened. On my computer, and heavens knows how this actually works, but on my computer popped up a photo of something I hadn't thought about in a long time. You know how your photos can cycle through your computer? Well, this just popped up on the screen. And it was a photo of an interfaith service we did down at the Catholic Cathedral, the Basilica downtown. All the interfaith ministers were down on their altar at the Basilica. And I can remember when we were planning this, we were, talking to the interfaith group. There was one person, and she was determined that it wasn't going to happen. I can remember her saying, they will never allow a New Thought minister on that stage. They're not going to allow a Hindu teacher. They're not going to allow a rabbi. They're not going to allow a Baptist church to come in and sing their music. But let me tell you, Mount Moriah Baptist Church, they got in there and they rocked the place. Yeah. She said it wouldn't ever happen. There's the proof it did. Don't let the world hold you back. Don't let people who've never done anything tell you what you can't do. You go out there and you make the difference. You in spirit are an answer to every challenge and every problem you'll ever have. So seeing that old photo on my computer, I thought about the promise I made to the exhibit in Prague. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get to a little bit more work on this. Let me take another step on this. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I had gotten excited about reaching out to a person. She's actually a friend of a friend, and she's a very wealthy person, very wealthy. I'm talking Scrooge McDuck kind of wealthy. And she lives here in St. Augustine. Now, I've had a little bit of conversations with her, but not a lot. We don't go out to brunch. But she was telling my friend in Atlanta, she says, I need to make donations because I'm making so much money. Isn't that a nice problem? And she said, and I'm looking for a charity in St. Augustine, Florida, because that's where she lives. And so it didn't take me twice. I was like, hey, I know a charity. I know some hardworking people who are doing great stuff. So I reached out to her and I told her, think about the Center for Spiritual Living. We give computers to the women fleeing violence. We help with scholarships. We do all kinds of stuff. I gave her the whole pitch. I emailed it off to her, never heard back from her. You throw every hook you have in the water. And if something nibbles, you pull it in. If it doesn't, throw another hook in the water. So I thought, well, since I haven't heard from her, I don't want to become a pest. I'm not going to hound her. And so I just let it slide by. This past week, when I had done a little short video of bringing the exhibit to St. Augustine, I thought, well, maybe I'll send this to her. And the moment I sent it to her, she responded to me immediately. And she said, Ken, I have a friend who's on the board of Flagler. I'll do what I can that exhibit is displayed at Flagler University. Now, here's the thing. when we were talking to ourselves about where we could host the exhibit, the first place that came out of my mouth was Flagler University. Spirit has a way. Spirit will guide you. We just have to step into that partnership. We got to turn loose of our negativity. Let go of the victimhood. Keep your eyes on the prize and keep moving ahead, because that's what we've come to do. We've become to be a blessing. And when we step into it, Spirit has a way of opening doors you never knew were there. So this week, amazingly, I'm turning 67. And I've discovered something. The older I'm becoming, the less interested I am in counting the years, the more interested I am in making the years count. I think about my friends. I wonder what they would have become, what they would have grown into, what they would have accomplished, what wisdom would they have gained, what gifts would they have shared with the world. And I like to think that they somehow are still with me. And if they are, what they would want me to know. And I think at 67, they would tell me, don't waste the time you've been given. And that's what I want to do. I want to make the years that I've been given matter. I want to keep building bridges instead of building walls. To keep believing that healing is stronger than hate, that compassion is stronger than fear, and that love will always have the final say. Because after all these years, that's what I've become to believe. Life is not measured by what we accumulate. It's measured by what we awaken. It's measured by the courage we inspire, the kindness we leave behind, the people's burdens that we have made lighter. One day, none of us will remember the size of our bank account, but we will be remembered by the lives we touched, by the people who found hope because we believed in them, by the children we encouraged, by the lonely people we made feel welcome, by the forgiveness we offered when resentment would have been easier. That's what will live past our lives. Those are the things that become eternal. And so perhaps the question isn't, what do I want from life? Perhaps the question that changes everything is this: how can I become the blessing in life? And not someday, not after we get wealthy, not after we become, the president, not after we become encouraged, now, with all the woundedness and everything else we carry, because we all do, now is the day to step out. Because we all have an opportunity to become an answer to someone's prayers. And when we begin to ask that question, we will have the courage to say yes. We will have the wisdom to recognize the opportunity and to move on it. We will become the people whose lives make a difference in this world. A little more hopeful, a little bit more loving, a little bit more compassionate. Here exactly where we are as we are. You don't have to become all saintly to make a difference. Right where you are, with all the nooks and crannies of your personality, God can shine forth, and your light is needed. Your hope, your inspiration, your courage is like a beacon from that lighthouse over on the shores. You're shining out to the deep waters, and you never know what little boat may be out in that turbulent water and just looking for your light to pull them into a safe harbor. You are wonderful. You are God's channel. You are the blessing you have come to be. It's the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you.